Hello, thanks for joining today's webinar. You can enlarge your screen for the optimal viewing experience using these buttons. You can also click the arrow here to view the hidden menu. The section at the very bottom will twirl out a menu that allows you to ask questions for the host to answer. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoy this webinar.
Hello everyone, my name is Tiffany and this is Christina and we are the managers of TaxBandits. Today we're going to discuss some of the robust TaxBandits security features.
Now, just as a quick reminder, while we love to talk about taxes, we have years and years of experience, we're not tax advisors, so if you do have any specific questions, we always recommend reaching out to a certified tax preparer or the IRS directly for tax advice.
Definitely. And speaking of our robust security features, which ones do we want to start with today?
I think it's always good to lead off with just like the certifications, if you will.
Okay, yeah.
So TaxBandits is SOC 2 certified. We are IRS authorized. We have a variety of things in place. Just like as an example, masking personally identifiable information on the recipient's details. For the post-mailed copies, you can mask it on the drafted copies, forms that you access from your account. Those are just kind of a few things that I want to throw out up front. But if you want to jump into, I know like we want to cover practical tips and different techniques that you can utilize in your account to make sure you're taking advantage of all the security features that TaxBandits offers.
Definitely. So some of the practical tips are like just the one-time access code, just getting started. Like when you're creating a TaxBandits account, we send you an email to verify that email as a security measure. Like we start from the time you say go. We want to make sure you're secure, we're secure with your information, and that is our first like open door way of getting there. Yeah. And then we do the same thing with the two-factor authentication, which you mentioned. And so we do that with your staff, with your account, and even the recipient portal side when your staff or you send your recipients access. Like everybody has the opportunity to set up the two-factor authentication to add those extra security measures.
And just to dive a little bit deeper into two-factor authentication for anyone that maybe hasn't set it up before with a website or an application that they're using, it's really straightforward. When you sign into TaxBandits, like Tiffany mentioned, you're prompted to like opt in for this option anyway. And essentially you're adding an authenticator app to your phone. There are a variety of secure options out there to choose from. And ideally, you would use your phone to scan a QR code in TaxBandits, and that's going to link your TaxBandits account to your unique authenticator app on your phone, so that when you sign into TaxBandits, not only are you entering an email address and a password, but you're also entering a code from the app into TaxBandits. So it's just another layer of ensuring that you are the person accessing your TaxBandits account and everything is secure. And just to touch a little bit more on one of the things that you mentioned, which is the like adding your staff to your TaxBandits account. So that is our Bandit Collab feature, and it is again another security measure because there's no sharing of credentials for your account. Yes, I mean the horror, right? But you're able to securely add your staff members. They have their own sign-in credentials. They get that email, and then they are signing in to work collaboratively. But through their own secure account, you're able to see through the log as the admin what your staff members are working on. Again, like you said, they have the option to enable the two-factor authentication also, but just having the ability to add them, manage them, assign, like you can pick which clients they have access to work on. So it's not like they're seeing everything. If they only need to work on a select like portion of your client base, you can control that. And so having that, you also can control the permissions. So you don't have to have all of your staff members have the ability to file forms. Some staff can prepare the forms. You can have staff members that approve the forms. If you want to, you can even have like a third set that goes in and transmits. So you're able to really like control the level of access that the team has, and just make sure that everything is the way that you'd like it as the admin.
Exactly. And you can even assign a co-admin if you need someone in your place. So they have the same access as you, but in their own credentials, so they don't have your information.
Yeah, maybe if you have somebody else that's managing like the day-to-day operations that you need to be able to handle all of that, it's perfect.
Exactly. And with that, we have Bandit Connect as another security feature, where your staff members can receive files securely from the recipients, and that way everything is transmitted through the secure TaxBandits account, and that way you get them, they know you've gotten them, and everything is in one place and nobody else has access to it.
And just to break that down a little bit, because one of our, if anyone saw our summer webinars, we really went into Bandit Connect, in at least one, if not a couple of those summer webinar sessions. But for anyone that's not as familiar, essentially you have, like we talked about, you have the staff in the account. You're inviting your clients to sign in through a secure portal where your staff can work with them. The client themselves can, like you said, share forms, but they can share files. They can also see their forms.
Yes.
So it's a secure place for your clients and your staff to communicate. They, just like you mentioned earlier, get the invite email. They go through that same level of security for accessing that portal, but they're reviewing forms. They're able to access finalized copies if you set that permission for them. So it's just a really good way to keep everything in one place that is secure for the clients and the team.
And a really big thing right now is the BOI reporting, and a picture of the photo ID is required to get that transmitted. And in that Bandit Connect, there is a place where your client can upload their ID securely, so they're not getting, they're not sending that through an email or a text. I wouldn't want to send my ID through a text. So we just wanted to make that super easy for your clients and ours, so everybody wins. And speaking of everybody winning, in the TaxBandits account, you can actually purchase credits. In doing credits, you're purchasing forms without having to put in a credit card for everybody to use. So the credits allow you to pre-purchase your forms, and when your staff sign in, they don't get your credit card information, so you're not sharing your credit card. That is 100% yours, and they do have access to the credits if they have transmitter
Or like the co-admin, like you mentioned, if you've given them permission to file forms, they're able to apply the credits to do that.
Otherwise, they don't have access to the credits and they can't see how many you have. So that's just one more level adding into the security features.
So another thing that I know we wanted to focus on today was some of the latest IRS guidelines for security measures. And I wanted to start just with an update that per the IRS, tax professionals are required to use two-factor authentication to protect client-sensitive information, and it is a requirement to strengthen their account security. So it's extremely important for the tax professionals. It's also very important for the clients and their data.
Exactly.
So it's definitely something to focus on, especially this time of year. We're still early enough that you can get these things in place now and then be prepared for tax season and not have to worry about it all at one time.
Exactly. You definitely want to get your two-factor authenticators set up, your staff members, get them
Even
in their
like
roles.
the Bandit Connect, like getting your clients ready to go. You can
Yes.
prepare all of that now so that as soon as it's time to file, all of the measures that you need are in place.
Exactly.
One of the things that the IRS is recommending is backing up your software, like regularly, so that if there's any kind of like a breach, or if there's ever a situation where you lose access to that device, you have your data, you have your records. And a great feature really of TaxBandits is that we're cloud-based. And so all of your data, not only is it secure, but it's also not specific to one device. So you can sign in and access that information securely without having to rely on like your one laptop that has everything on it or your one desktop.
Because I've definitely spilled coffee in my devices.
Oh my gosh. I have a friend who she had a MacBook and it got tea water on it and it died. And so just having something that's not specific to one location but is still secure is extremely beneficial.
Absolutely. And you never know when we're going to have a natural disaster.
Exactly.
So many,
you can't prepare for everything. Yeah, so many states have had extended deadlines over the last few years because there are tornadoes and hurricanes and floods and fires and all kinds of things. And so even if you think that you're okay, you never know when something's going to happen.
Exactly.
A couple of other security measures, just to kind of touch on really quick, are having an antivirus software, something that the IRS recommends, which is obviously extremely helpful.
Definitely.
Putting a firewall in place is something that's on that list of recommended security measures, and then also using a VPN. And so those are just a couple of other things, but definitely, using something that has security measures in place, built in, is a huge help.
Absolutely. And adding on to some of the other features that TaxBandits offers, we also have Bandit Collect. And this is where you can send and receive your W-9s. It's a secure way to get your vendor information, and it'll automatically put it in your address book.
So say goodbye to, or at least to some of the paper copies of W-9s that your clients are collecting from their recipients and then giving to you. And honestly, who knows what's written on the form? Who knows how it's filled out? Is it legible? And it's definitely not, masked or in a secure location. It's just a piece of paper with personally identifiable information on it. So having a secure way for the recipient to fill that in for vendor records.
And it automatically does the TIN matching, so you know it's correct.
Exactly. And then if it's not, if there's an error, you as the preparer are able to provide feedback and kind of reject that W-9 so that you can get the correct information.
Exactly.
So not only is it more secure, it's a significantly easier way to make sure you actually have the correct data.
Exactly. So when you are filing your forms, you have the accurate information, so that lowers your chances of any rejections.
And picking up on, again, secure features that TaxBandits supports. I know we talked about a little bit about the recipient access to their forms. Since we kind of broke down some of the other features, I want to spend just a little bit more time on that. And that's going to be either our Bandit Complete or Bandit Share features. With Bandit Complete, that is focused on recipient copy distribution, and it's where TaxBandits is printing and mailing the recipient copies and distributing secure online access to those copies. So just to reiterate, with the postal mailed recipient copies, we're masking the personally identifiable information for the recipients on those forms, so that is secure. And with the online access side of things, like you mentioned earlier, we're sending an email to the recipient. They are actually signing in through that email. It's verifying their email address. They have the option to enable two-factor authentication. And they are also entering, in addition to it verifying their email, they're entering the last 4 digits of their TIN to further verify that this is the correct recipient before they have access to those forms. And it's storing all the years that are filed through that account in one place. So if someone's using TaxBandits for 2024 filing and then they use it again for 2025 for the same recipient, they can continue to access every year of their forms through that same portal. So they're not having to go to multiple locations, because the more locations you have, the more likely that you are to misplace records or incorrectly. And it's not, like you've talked about earlier, it's not an email. It's not a fax. It's not something that they're going to have in a random place. It's all in one very secure location. So that's just another feature I kind of wanted to spend just a little bit more time on.
Absolutely. We have so many great features that we have in place and are constantly working to improve. So just keep an eye out.
Absolutely.
And is there anything else we want to add in before we go?
I think we've really covered what our goals were for today. I do want to just, again, drive home that this is the time of year to get those things in place if you haven't already. It feels like we have so much time left before the January filing season, but it is going to be gone in the blink of an eye. So signing in, familiarizing yourself with the updates and the enhancements, reaching out to our support team if you have questions, and getting two-factor authentication and your Bandit Collab and Bandit Connect and all of those things set up now is just a really good way to help yourself and your clients through the season.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We are always here for help. So just let us know if you have any questions, or you can leave it in the comments. And if you haven't already, just make sure you go to taxbandits.com and sign up today. Bye.